I'm a pretty crazy person when I'm not around you. You even me out. You mellow me out a little.
You got a lot going on in that head of yours.
I cannot control it. It's insane.
I don't understand it.
Me neither.
Welcome back. We're the Roots, and this is the You Me Us Together podcast. And yeah, I said "and" a lot. So
and that was really good, and it was great, and
we're on social media if you want to follow us. We're
That might have been the most awkward intro yet. Oh my word. And
only the best from us.
All right.
Yeah. So
now that we
doing
got
another one, and I can't stop it.
Okay, now that we got that out of the way, let's begin.
Yep.
Okay, today we're going to talk about supporting an overwhelmed spouse.
Yes.
I said how to deal with an overwhelmed spouse. You said, oh, supporting them? And I said, that wording sounds a lot better.
Yes, because you don't have as much experience as I do.
I don't. No.
But, yeah, we've been going through this very stressful phase in our life. And so we feel like we both have gone through places of like, I'm just so overwhelmed with everything going on around us. And so we thought it was a good time to talk about it.
Yeah. And even when it's not a stressful phase in our life, that's just like how I am. That's my personality. I can get stressed out really easily, so overwhelmed.
Overstimulated.
So easily. I'm just too sensitive for my own good. Too sensitive.
Yeah, our lifestyle is not conducive for sensitivity like that. But it's okay.
Thanks.
It's helped you grow.
I'm working on it.
It's helped me grow in learning how to handle you.
How to deal with me. How to support me.
That's right.
There we go.
Yeah.
Would you say that you get overwhelmed very easily or ever?
I don't get overwhelmed super easily. It's just not my personality. I'm pretty laid back. I'm, like, good with whatever goes. I have low expectations for, like, little to no expectation of how things should go. Recently I've gotten overwhelmed with more, and it really shows that we're actually doing a lot right now. There's a lot going on around us because of the fact that I'm actually feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah, if you get overwhelmed, that's saying something.
Yeah, it shows that, like, there's really a lot going on.
Yeah. What sorts of things have been overwhelming to you recently?
It's just the mass of things going on, right? So it's like the most recent one was when we got home from Washington, right? Mm-hmm. We took this 2-week-long trip through Oregon, Washington, down the Oregon coast. It was really beautiful. Mm-hmm. We got back, and like the day after we got back, my dad and brother were like, hey, we're going to pick up some machines so we can dig a giant hole in the back of the property to put some containers in. And it's like, so it was like a mix of that, because you and I had set expectations of when we get home, we need to clean, make sure the house is nice and cleaned up. We want to go through our schedule and make sure we're on the same page. We want to start doing some filming so we're on track with that. We want to figure out a plan.
We were going to kind of take it slow and just like
ease back into it.
Yeah, and it wasn't an ease back into it. It's a get shoved.
Yeah, it was a jump in and hope you can swim. Yeah. But I feel like we're coming out the other side, and it's been fine.
Yeah, we survived. We're good.
But it was a process of, like, I had a couple of times where I just was so, like, I can't even believe all the stuff that's going on because I feel like I had some expectations. I think we're going to talk about expectations a lot today. I had some expectations of we're going to do it a little slower. We're going to work on YMU a lot so that we feel like we're making progress on that. And it ended up that whole weekend was we did some work on YMU. I also, in the time I wasn't working on YMU. I was down helping dig and load dirt and move stuff and figure out logistics of where are we going to buy containers, all this stuff, big shipping containers. There was something else going on too, and I don't remember. Maybe it was Ruth's shop stuff.
There's Ruth's shop stuff. We also had a wedding reception to go to and a birthday party to
That's
go
right.
to, and
Yeah, so
trying to unpack.
we had stuff like actually scheduled. It had been on the schedule for months, on that for that weekend, and it's like these are non-negotiables, and but there was also this project in the middle of it, so that was overwhelming for sure. But it took some. You helped me a lot with talking through it and really helping me realize, okay, it may have just been you being able to be gracious with me, so that I could work through myself how I'm going to handle the situation. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so it really helped me try to figure out, okay, it's okay. My dad and brother told me, we understand, we just sprung this on you. This is the only weekend we had available. And so if you can help, great. Otherwise not. So I had to really take that to heart and say, okay, I really do want to help them because I believe that that's a valuable thing. But I need to set boundaries with them and I need to tell them I can only work these times. I can only do this, whatever. Right?
Yeah.
And that helped a lot, actually setting some boundaries.
Yep.
Yeah.
Probably didn't help that all of that really overwhelmed me too.
Yeah. So I'm trying to reassure you and say, no, I really want to do this stuff with you, but I also need to help them. So how am I going to balance this?
Yeah.
I think it's a big part of what overwhelms me is I see all of this stuff that I need to do. And then I see you get overwhelmed. And so I then have to figure out how am I going to get the things done and make you feel like you're good.
Yeah.
And all this, balance all the stuff.
Yep.
It's a challenge.
Yeah. Yeah. So you don't get overwhelmed that easily. That was kind of an exception.
Yeah.
That there's
It's
almost
very rare.
too much going on if you're getting overwhelmed. That means we need to think through some things and pick some priorities.
Yeah.
Because we can't do it all.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a typical day if I'm overwhelmed. You're like, is something wrong with you today? You're not overwhelmed.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Your tolerance has been increased in the last year.
Yeah.
Of the chaos, but it's still, we're just built differently, and I think male and female is a big difference too, because of the way our brains work. I can compartmentalize things easier.
Yeah. But it's one of those things where it's great that we're built differently because then we work together as a team better. We bring different things to the table. So, yeah. I don't know. I think everyone's a little different on we could both be people that get overwhelmed easily, but certain things are triggers, if that makes sense. So for me, it's all my to-do tasks can get overwhelming. I think so far in the future and about big projects, we need to do this, 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 and this, that I can't focus on right here, right now, and what I just need to get done today. So that overwhelms me. And then like emotions and drama
Mm-hmm.
really overwhelms me. And because I don't know. I don't know why. Is it just because I don't know how to like deal with it? Because it's weird that other people's emotions overwhelm me because I have a lot of emotions too.
Yeah.
I'm super emotional, but then when someone else is super emotional, I'm like, I can't deal with this. Instead of like being gracious and thinking, okay, I'm that way too. I should need to be the one to listen this time instead of talking and sharing, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe that's a growing part that I need. But I don't really, myself, I don't have a ton of tips to give because I haven't dealt with it too much. Because you
Well,
don't get overwhelmed that easily, but like you said, talking through it really helped you.
yeah.
Which I do my best just in general, even if you're not overwhelmed. If I see that like something has you off, a bit off,
Mm-hmm.
I try to give you the space to talk through it. You don't always take that opportunity,
Yeah.
but I
That
want you to know that it's there, that I'm
that
here.
frustrates you sometimes. You're like, just talk to me about it. Like, you need to talk about it. It's
Yeah,
like, no. Because some things for me, I just need to deal with on my own.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I do my best to let you know, like, I'm here. I'm here for you to talk about it if you want to talk about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
From your experience of being on the side of the person that is overwhelmed, what are the things that I do for you or with you that help kind of calm that for you and help you work through it and process? And
um,
are there specific things that I have done in the past?
yeah. Um, Hugs are really good for me.
Yeah.
Um,
Do you want to talk about the 90-second hug real quick?
yeah. We learned this at one of our conferences recently. It's called a 90-second hug, and it's where you hug me
Mm-hmm.
and you just come up, like if you see that I'm struggling or overwhelmed or something, you just come up and just wrap your arms around me. Sometimes you just stand there and wait for me to come to you.
Yeah.
But basically, you just stay still for, it's supposed to be 90 seconds.
Yeah, sometimes it only takes 30.
Yeah. You thought, you were like, last time you said, I wasn't counting, but I think that was 30. And I was like, it's a 90-second hug, not a
Yeah, I
30-second
had
hug. And you were
forgotten.
like, what? I had to stand there that long? But the idea is it takes that long for someone to kind of like relax. And so you can kind of, a lot of times, especially if you don't hug your spouse very often, like when you come up and hug them, they're not going to immediately put their arms around you too. They're going to be like, what the heck are they doing? And then you can
Mm-hmm.
kind of feel them relax and
Yeah.
kind of put their arms around you. I don't know if you can feel me relax, but it's
Yeah,
kind of my cue to like breathe, if that makes sense.
I was just going to say that where I notice it almost prompts you to remember to take your deep breaths and
Yeah.
really just calm yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I am giving you the space to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't feel like you can give yourself the space, maybe, or
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
I'm not good at, yeah, recognizing when I need to stop and take a breather
Mm-hmm.
or just stop for a second. And that is something where you're kind of telling me to do it, but in a nice way,
Right.
if that makes sense.
Yeah,
And so
exactly.
that action, that really helps. I know some people count to 90. I don't think you count.
No.
But the point is you're there long enough for them to kind of reset.
Yeah. I go by feel most of the time. Because most of the time I can tell, like, okay, she's calmed herself down and she's able to move forward.
Yeah.
And we can talk about a couple of things and reassure each other, like,
Mm-hmm.
we're still okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So talking about it also really helps, and especially talking about it with you because it needs to be a safe person.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of times when I'm overwhelmed, the things that I'm overwhelmed about are ridiculous because it's just piled on things, so even little ridiculous things can add to me being overwhelmed, if that makes sense. And so being able to talk to you and you not judge me
Right.
and you not tell me that it's ridiculous or I guess my point is talking to you and you're listening.
Right.
You're not sitting there trying to fix all my problems. You're not telling me how silly I am or something like that. You're just listening to what I have to say. And a lot of times when I get them out, I'm like, that's ridiculous. Why am I worrying about that?
Yeah.
Put it aside. But the things that it's like I can't figure out how to get past because they're so overwhelming, that's when you come in and talking through it with you and you giving me some feedback can be really helpful.
Yeah, for sure. Okay.
Yeah, you help me move forward. You help me kind of take all my thoughts and condense them down to what's important.
Yeah.
So certain things you're like, okay, I understand that that's overwhelming, but that doesn't apply to you right now. So let's forget about it.
Right.
For now.
Yeah, just put it on the back burner at least because it's like it's not what's in front of you today and it's taking up all of your brain power.
And like I said, a lot of times I get overwhelmed by like tasks to do. So you're really good at helping me condense it down and be like, okay, these are the 5 things you need to focus on today. Just do these 5 things. Then if you finish them, you can take a nap, or if you still have energy, pick one other thing to do, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
But my, kind of like when I'm hangry, my brain just like shuts off, like I can't control it. Same when I'm like overwhelmed. And it's like you just aren't thinking rationally.
Yeah.
You can't get yourself back down on that level on your own very easily. That's where you come in.
For sure. I think there's some habits that we can create to help prevent those situations and becoming overwhelmed. I know like creating lists for you on your schedule help a lot and doing it together so that we each can recognize, okay, I can't put 35 things on my list for one day because they're not all going to happen.
Yeah.
Probably only half of them will happen, if that many. Right?
If it's 35, it's probably like a fifth of them will happen.
Yeah. Very few.
Yes.
And so we each can kind of talk through that stuff with each other and say, well, realistically, we need to manage our time and we need to understand, you know, filming and editing a podcast probably won't, it's absolutely not going to take an hour because filming it takes an hour at least.
Yeah.
And, you know, so we really have to think through that stuff and recognize where our time is going and help each other rationalize that and make smart choices.
Yeah.
Because you used to be, it actually was a sticking point for both of us. You used to be, you would make this whole list and you'd say, yeah, I'm going to do this today, this, and this. And I would come in after working in the shop or whatever I was doing that day. And you're like, well, I did this task mostly, and I started this one. I did finish this though. It's like, okay, what about these 5 other things you said you were going to do? And because acts of service are really important to me, it made me feel like you won't follow through with your word and you don't care about me almost or something like that.
And on my side, it's not that I'm purposely trying to make you do that. I just have such high expectations for myself that I can't keep.
Yeah.
That I genuinely wanted to get all those things done, but it's just not even possible.
Yeah, and it's something like, I think we recognized it when we went through the 5 love languages. We recognized like, oh, this is part of why this really bothers me. And we were able to talk through it like, I didn't even realize that bothered you. That I would tell you I was going to do all these things and then didn't do half of them.
Yeah. But then sometimes I jump to extremes and you ask me, what are you going to do today? And I say, I don't want to tell you because if I don't get it done, you're going to be mad. Yeah.
And it's not that I'm going to be mad. It's just that you're setting my expectations for that.
Yeah.
Right? You're setting me up for, I'm going to get this stuff done and I want to believe you. Right.
So it's been helpful to actually, instead of you just asking me like, what are you getting done today? Or like that, we talk through it together.
Yeah.
And I'll kind of tell you, these are the things that I kind of want to get done today, but I'm not sure if that's too much or if I'm like, am I putting too much on my plate? Do I need to dial it back a bit? And I have trouble knowing, like, telling what things are more important than other things.
Yeah.
And so you'll help me sometimes be like, I think you could get those 5 things done, but prioritize these top 3.
Right.
And try to get those done first. Kind of thing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I think that's helped a lot with you not being overwhelmed. It's helped you not be overwhelmed so easily because
Yeah.
you're like, okay, I have 3 tasks today. They may be fairly large tasks, but I only have 3, and I know that if I need to, I'll bounce between them. I can do whatever, but I need to try and get them done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think talking through it with you kind of gives me permission to, not to, like, neglect things, but to be able to do what I need to do and not push myself too hard, if that makes sense. Where if I have, like, this whole long list of things, like, in my head of, like, oh, I really need to get all these things done eventually, and I get overwhelmed by all of that. But if you tell me, if you get these 3 things done, you should go take a nap because you really need a nap. I feel like I have permission to do that. I'm not going to let you down by taking a nap because he told me I could take a nap.
Yeah.
Where before it's like, I need to get as much done as I can so that he'll be proud of me, or that
Yeah.
I'll make him feel better because I'm doing more for him, because especially since acts of service are so important for you. Like, I want to go, like, over the top with that to make you feel so loved, but then I'll be so grumpy in the evening because I didn't sleep well last night and I really needed a nap today, and I wouldn't let myself do it because I'm trying to do something for you or something. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So talking through it with you, not that you, like, need to tell me what to do. It's not like you're my parent that needs to, like, direct me, but it's nice for you to hear that and have permission. Yeah. And then from there I can decide, do I actually really need a nap or not? Like, am I actually that tired or not? But you saying, maybe you might want to take a nap today or something like that gives me that permission to slow down and kind of breathe a little, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, sure. Yeah, I like you.
Thanks.
You help balance me out a lot.
Yeah. I have pretty good balance.
I'm a pretty crazy person when I'm not around you. You even me out. You mellow me out a little.
You got a lot going on in that head of yours.
I cannot control it. It's insane.
I don't understand it.
Me neither. Something else you've started doing fairly recently that really helps me. We've talked about this before, but I think we talked about it on a podcast that we decided not to post because the quality was so bad.
Yeah.
But when I get super overwhelmed, like, in a moment, like...
do you have an example?
Like... we're driving to Spokane, Washington to see my side of the family, and I love them so much, but they don't plan things. They're very, like, last minute, like, oh, we'll decide and just do what we feel like in the moment. And I like things planned, and so I struggle with that sometimes.
You like to know what's going to happen and where we're going.
I like to know what I should expect.
Yeah.
But just, like, thinking about that kind of, like, overwhelms me. And I had a moment like that where I suddenly got super overwhelmed. I don't get, like, panic attacks. Like, I don't go that far.
Yeah.
But, like, you can tell, like, everything just suddenly shifted and was going downhill fast.
Yeah, and you
kind
just
of thing.
don't function well.
Yeah.
When that happens. Yeah.
I got super overwhelmed, and something that you've started doing is you just say, I'm on your team.
Right.
Or, I'm on your team, right? Like, you can, sometimes you say it as a phrase, sometimes you say it as a question. But those few words, they just kind of they're enough to catch me off guard and think about it for a second and be like, oh yeah, right. You are on my team. We are a team. I don't need to freak out about this as much because it's not all on me.
Yeah.
Kind of
Yeah,
thing.
because things are easier with two than one.
Yeah, it's another one of those things like the 90-second hug where it's like a cue for me to stop and breathe for a second.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I think that's been super helpful.
That's good. I'm glad.
Yeah. Words are really important to me too.
Yeah, they
so
are.
that's super helpful to hear the words out of your mouth because it's
Mm-hmm.
not like I forgot that you're there with me, but
Yeah.
it's like the reminder is nice and just the words in general make me feel loved.
Yeah.
So
I do want to talk about the 90-second hug thing.
mm-hmm.
It's not a time for me to talk. If I fill the space with, it's a time for a quiet, open space.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I fill the space with words, it then creates, it keeps your mind going because you're processing what I'm saying and all of that.
Yeah.
Silence is a super valuable thing that a lot of people don't utilize anymore. And so learning to know when to have some just quiet space where you can just be.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's an interesting concept because it's like too much silence will make me go crazy because I get too into my head. Because like I don't know what else to do, so then I just start thinking a lot, and then it can go overboard really fast. It can escalate really quickly.
Yeah.
But 90 seconds is not very long. It's not that much time, really.
Yeah.
So learning kind of to have those times of silence, and I don't know, just being that close to you, it's hard for me to think negative things or overwhelming things when you're right here.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, we need to be each other's biggest comfort.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're very much mine. And that silence does really help, especially when I'm intentionally taking deep breaths during it. My mind is thinking about breathe in, breathe out,
Right.
and that's it.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
And your body is really warm, and I like that. And I was feeling a little chilly before this.
Yeah. Probably so.
That's what I think about for most hugs. I'm like, I didn't realize I was feeling cold, but I feel really warm now.
It's so funny. You probably think I'm just hot all the time, huh? Just like sweating hot. I know.
You look at ya.
I know. How many people have said, man, you should be a model?
A few. Recently, actually. Several people are like, he's so handsome. And I'm like, I know, but you can't have him. He's mine.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think you have a modeling career ahead of you.
Yeah.
You could model for Red Wing or Carhartt.
If I ever
Or
get
Browning.
Browning. I have one hoodie, so I mean, how well would that actually work?
You could.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any tips as the spouse who deals with the overwhelmed one? Deals with supports. Sorry, I keep saying it not in a very positive way.
The biggest thing I've had to learn is you being overwhelmed doesn't mean that there's a problem I need to fix. And we've talked about this before, but I'm naturally a problem solver. Most guys are. And so, especially when our wives are seemingly falling apart, we want to get all your pieces back together and make sure everything's good and fixed. But it's just simply a time for me to be with you and help you process. Because what it is, really, is the reason you're overwhelmed is you have your mind has a traffic jam, right? And so because of the amount of stuff in there, And so it's my job simply to be with you and give you the time of day to really talk through stuff, because simply verbalizing things allows you the capacity to actually process it.
Mm-hmm.
And after you go process through even half of the stuff you've been thinking about and that's been stressing you out, uh, you instantly feel like this weight is lifted off of you, right?
Yeah.
And so that is the best thing, is just not joking around, right? Not making jokes about things that you're talking about.
It's not a time to be sarcastic.
Not,
Yeah.
and we've talked about sarcasm too. I'm pretty sure just how destructive it can be.
Mm-hmm.
We should see if we've done a full podcast on that, because that would be super valuable,
Yeah,
actually.
I agree.
But yeah, it's not a time for joking or fixing or talking, really.
Yeah.
You do need something to pull that stuff out of you, because a lot of times you just shut down.
Mm-hmm.
When you're overwhelmed, you're just done.
Yeah.
And you don't want to talk, and you don't want to eat, and you don't want to work, and you don't want to...
And we all know I get hangry if I don't eat.
Yeah. And so I have to pull some stuff out of you, but then once... It's like getting a siphon going. Do you know what that is? It's like siphoning water out of a bucket, right?
Yeah.
It's like I have to start by pulling some of that out, but eventually it'll flow out of you, and you can then start processing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think also, like you said, it's not a time for you to fix things, I think that's an accurate statement, but if you struggle with that and wanting to fix things, I don't know if it'd help you by thinking you sitting and processing with me is fixing it.
Mm-hmm.
You're just not fixing it in the way that you would choose to fix it, or that is natural for you, but you sitting there and helping me process is helping me fix the problem, because it is unclogging my traffic jam.
It's not an active solution, it's more of a passive solution. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, it's more, I'm not looking for you to have the correct answer to solve all my problems.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that kind of fixing it, but it is, you still are kind of fixing my problem in a way.
Right. Yeah. That makes sense.
So if that helps someone feel better, like I hate listening to my wife. She just keeps talking and talking, and every time I try to fix it, she won't let me.
Yeah.
It's probably because she doesn't.
Gets more mad.
She doesn't need that kind of fixing.
Yeah.
She needs a different kind.
Yep. There's one other thing I wanted to talk about with things that overwhelm each other.
Okay.
Carrying burdens from each other that we don't need to.
Okay.
So, me and my dad and my brother all talk about all these wild, crazy projects that we want to do.
Guys are dreamers.
We're dreamers, and we are super handy, and so we're like, man, we could totally buy this thing and fix it up and sell it, or we could buy this and it could replace this thing we already have, and
we could go dig another hole.
Whatever, right? And so we talk all these crazy ideas. You finished your water?
I did, so I stole yours.
And what happens is, if I talk about all that stuff and like process through it on my own around you or to you, it stresses you out, because you think this is going to happen. Don't close that. You think it's going to happen because I'm talking about it. And so it like freaks you out, because some of these things are way off the wall. Crazy.
Yeah, and it overwhelms me, because generally at that point, a lot of times when something overwhelms me like that doesn't affect me, it's because I have so many things piled already. Adding that one thing to the top, it just makes it explode.
Yeah. But a lot of those things, like, you don't really need to know about it unless I'm going to like take a pile of cash and go buy, a tank. Mm-hmm. Then you should...
A tank?
I should be talking to you about it.
Like a gas tank, or like a gun tank?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you'll own a tank someday.
I hope so. I'll get a backhoe first, then we'll talk about a tank.
Okay.
But yeah, like there's a line where it's like I do need to talk to you about it if it's affecting our finances and our family.
Yeah.
But if it's just dreaming, it's like I don't need to clutter your brain with all my dreamy stuff that you have no interest in, and
Yeah.
unless it's gonna actually materialize, it's gonna add stress that you don't need.
Yeah. We're not saying don't dream, but if you're going to dream together about things that you both want to dream about, if that makes sense. Or, things that affect both of you.
So I've learned to enjoy dreaming about like homes with you, right?
Yeah.
But that's not my natural tendency. That's not something I would choose to dream about, right? I wouldn't choose, if I was single, I would dream about, having a barndo with like a barndominium with like 1,000 square feet of living space and 4,000 square feet of shop space.
Yeah.
Right. So it's different because you're like, well, we could do that, but as long as the shop's detached. And if we have a big, nice, fancy house and we have these finishes and that, it's like, well, okay.
But I have learned to dream to have a shop.
But
I want more than
meeting
1,000 square feet of living space.
I'm just talking about meeting each other in the middle and learning how to. It's fun to learn how to enjoy those things with each other, right?
Yeah.
Like you have developed this passion for cooking and trying new recipes and that, and I really love doing it with you, which is fun. But I wouldn't choose to do it on my own because I don't care that much about food.
Which is so weird when people hear that. Noah does not care about food. He could care less about food. He could eat the same thing every day, be fine.
I know.
And
So many
I
people
think that is
understand
ridiculous.
Food is just a vessel to get fuel in my body to keep me moving.
Mm-hmm. Yes. But the point kind of is there's certain things that like it's okay for you to dream about, but you need to know at what point do I share this with her, because I don't need to tell her every single little detail because she just doesn't, I don't need to know that much.
Exactly.
It's too overwhelming. And I've kind of learned that too with you and your dad and your brother. There's certain things where it's like I need to turn around and walk away. I don't need to be hearing this because it's just going to overwhelm me.
Yeah.
Not that I don't think it's cool or I'm excited that you guys are dreaming, but for where I'm at right now in this moment, it's going to completely overwhelm me, and I know that. So
That's
I
valuable.
need to walk away right now so I can continue to function the rest of my day.
That's great that you've learned to have some sort of gauge of that.
I'm trying.
That's
I also
really good.
struggle with the other side where I think, well, if I walk away, is it going to be rude? Are they going to know that they're overwhelming me and feel bad about it or whatever? But I got to learn to just...
Guys don't think that way.
I know. I know. But, and then if you're super curious or super, like, you need... like, in the future, like, when you come in at night, I can be like, what were you guys talking about? And you can kind of...
I can condense it down for you.
Yeah,
so
condense it down and say, oh, you don't need to worry
details.
about it. We were just talking about something we might do, like, in 5 years. And I'll be like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Then I really don't need to worry about it. Kind of thing. But there's that level of trust there, too, that it's like... I know it's overwhelming to me, so I'm going to walk away, but I trust that if it's something that's really important, you're actually going to tell me about it.
That is, we've seen a lot of couples struggle with that, where they don't know where that line is, right? Where he's dreaming about whatever, right? Maybe it's like, I want to redo the whole lawn, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, I'm just going to do it. And he goes and buys all the stuff and spends thousands of dollars and starts spending every weekend working on it. And she's like, we did not have that in the budget and we didn't even talk about it.
Like, where did this come from?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's that line where it's like, if it starts turning from a dream into, I want to actually make this happen, we then need to have a conversation about it. Because it is going to take up time, money, and my emotional energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes dreams come up in your head just as an idea, and you need to think, is this worth sharing right now, or is it worth keeping to myself until God makes it something more, if that makes sense.
Yep.
But yeah, there's that level of trust where I need to know I know you'll share it with me if it's important.
Yeah.
But also on the other side of that, because people are nosy. You want to know things. You
Yeah,
want to
you
be in the
do.
loop.
I know.
And if I ask you, hey, what were you guys talking about? And your answer is, you don't need to know, it's going to overwhelm you. I need to trust what you're saying and learn to let it go.
Yeah, that answer isn't good for you because it makes you want to know more and it makes you.
I know, but
But
and I'm not saying I'm great at this.
No,
I'm not good at this,
what
but I
I'm
need to
saying
learn
is
this too.
just choice of words.
Yeah.
Choice of words is super important because instead of me saying you don't need to know, it's just a dream thing that we're talking about. Instead, I could say, oh, we talked about this bus idea, but it's ridiculous and it's not going to happen.
Yeah. But there needs to be that trust too, that it's like, I trust that you have my best interests in mind because you know how I operate.
Yeah.
And instead of pushing you to make you tell me every single little detail and then I get overwhelmed and then now you have to deal with it.
Yeah.
Trusting that it's like he knows me and he knows how I operate, and if he thinks it's not a good idea to tell me, then I need to trust him in that.
Yeah. 100%.
Especially knowing that you guys are dreamers and a lot of things aren't going to be reality right this second. If ever on
For
some
sure.
things. But yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not very good at that though, when you say you probably don't need to know this one. Because I do want to know. I'm super nosy. I want to know it, but I need to learn to trust you in that. I'm not very good at that.
I just bumped your camera.
That's okay.
Sorry, I'm feeling fidgety.
That's weird. That's usually my thing.
I know. Yeah, so don't get overwhelmed.
It's just that easy.
It's a pain.
Just kidding. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have anything else to say? Always? Does it stress you out that we didn't talk about everything we need to?
I feel like we did pretty good. I just think it's important for the person that's being overwhelmed to learn to pause and breathe.
Yeah.
And the person that is dealing with the overwhelmed to remain calm and patient.
I think that's great. Way to sum it up.
Boom, bang.
Put a
Didn't
bow
need
on it.
all of that podcast. Could have just skipped to the
Could've
end.
I know.
You get the main point.
I know. We need to put a disclaimer at the beginning. For all the men that just want it in 2 words, skip to the end. No, that's not true. Stuff in the middle is important.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And.
Life is good.
And.
And.
Yeah.
And.
Okay.
We should be done now.
Wrap it up.
Okay. Was I supposed to wrap it up?
Please.
Okay. We're gonna be done now. Goodbye.
That was such a bad ending. It was so fast.
Okay, try it again.
Okay.
Thanks for listening. If you actually made it to our awkward ending, we love you guys, and
we're so thankful that you are here.
Yeah.
Very, very thankful.
Okay.
All right.
Good enough?
Yeah.
Can I say goodbye now?
Yep.
Goodbye.